hope you've all had a chance to swallow your food here. We will call this work study session retreat of the Mesa School Board to order. Today is August 3rd. It is 6:03, so a little bit late. Are there any changes or amendments to the agenda? Hearing none, we'll adopt the agenda as presented. Hi, Johnny. First order of business is budget committee vacancies.
So the board set the deadline for last Friday, July 31st at 5 for applications to be submitted, and we've received 3, and we do have 3 openings. So we received those.
I only saw 2. Yeah, Salt, Roseanne, and Stephanie.
And Jeremy.
Jeremy's is formatted.
It looks like it's blank, but it's not.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's in formatting issues, but I told you.
Oh, it's Jeremy Peterson.
Yes.
It's typed. That's
So
In small print.
it works. Anyways, we do have 3 openings, and we received 3 applications, and I think we all know the applicants, so.
So are some of the other people that I thought like that their terms were up, they didn't reapply?
2 of them did reapply. Yes.
Great. So, we all know these applicants. We do know Jeremy, we know Stephanie Barnes, and we know Rose Solomon.
I don't know.
She has been on the board before, or on the budget committee.
She was at our budget committee, but virtual. You remember the lady that was on the screen?
So,
And they all three meet all the qualifications?
they've all passed the, whatever it is they have to go through for all
Yes.
with the county. Are there any other comments on the board applicant, budget committee? Budget board applicants. Do we make a motion or do we just appoint?
I'll put it on the agenda on Monday if you guys are in consensus to not do interviews since Jeremy was on the board and you've already interviewed the other 2 before and they've been on it. Then we can just appoint them on Monday on the agenda.
So if you have any questions about any of the applicants, we should contact Megan. Okay? Otherwise, it would be on at our regular board session. Okay, we will now move on to board goals, which was the real reason that we were having this meeting. I will comment that when we did our board goals last year, that these are basically the same goals, except we had student and staff safety as one of our goals last time, and basically we moved that staff and student safety into the student area and into the staff area. Otherwise, the board goals are pretty much the same. I don't know how you want to take these.
So what I was thinking about doing is I gave you guys those sheets to look through every area. They're not colored, but every section, those 4 sections that we identify as priorities for the community board. And I thought we just go one by one and just get your thoughts on the first area. And I know Maribel has submitted some things and for her thoughts as well. Gina's going to take notes for us while we go through it and then see if we can kind of use all of your ideas to craft a priority in that goal. And so you know, like I said, my hope is not always, we don't always have to focus on efficiency. We want to continue strengthening this. It doesn't have to be something new. It doesn't, but I really want to make sure that we're not only taking a good direction, but also how we're going to measure that for success and how we're going to report out to you guys. And so I want to make it really candid about this area, you know, every area, and just have a conversation. Does that sound good with everybody? Gina's going to help craft this into smart language.
And, you know, please say what you think, because this is a chance for us to really look at things, because we all have different perspectives. And we aren't just planning or thinking about this year. We're also trying to think 5, 10, 15 years in the future. So, because some of the things we do today could really hinder us, or they can really push us forward. Okay.
Perfect. Well, let's start with the first one. The first area, which is academic excellence and student success. The overall goal is improve academic performance, increase graduation rates and student attendance, enhance student support and safety. And so then we have strategies here, and this is, if you guys remember, from our strategic plan. So somebody want to kind of go first on their thoughts on that area, and then we can kind of just keep going around. Everybody will have a chance.
Well, because Maribel has hers all timed out nicely, we will go with Maribel's first. Right, academic excellence, current reality, data and feedback show there's room for improvement. Provided opportunities for dedicated support for struggling students in a more targeted manner, such as tutorial Fridays, may help with reaching academic goals as a district. And I will amplify on that. We've talked about this before a lot, about having tutorial Fridays, or even maybe some extended learning on Fridays. I'm not quite sure, and we've talked about this before, Ryan, where our staff is on this particular area, because that has a lot to do with it. I mean, you know, we can say, okay, we're going to bring all the kids here on Friday, but if our staff doesn't buy in on this, then it's kind of a lost cause. So, and from my perspective, I look at this as being a real opportunity, not just to help the kids who are struggling, but to perhaps give some of the kids who are at the upper end of our spectrum, giving them a chance to really do some other things. For example, you know, if someone's really into astronomy, you know, maybe that's an opportunity to do some things like that for just, you know, an hour or two. So, you've heard my thoughts?
I wrote down tutorial Friday too, and I think it has to be like on the first day of school built into the calendar, like the first Monday or the last, whatever, or the first Friday or whatever. We will have tutorial Friday. Each teacher is required to invite so many students. And then when we did it in 5th grade, like 3 of us would work with the lower kids, and 1 person would take those like tag kids and do an enrichment activity so they could get something too. But you know, it has to be built into the schedule. The teachers have to know you're going to work with some kids who are struggling once a month for a couple of hours.
It also has to be built in because we would provide transportation. So a lot of these kids can't get here.
And breakfast and lunch, that would help with the food. And I also wrote on the evidence of success, it's not just test scores. I know we have to, but to me, like, kids reading an AR and enjoying reading and getting points or finishing books and, you know, passing the test, that shows a lot of success too.
Having kids
Because some
want to
people
read
don't
instead of
test
having to read.
well. Guys?
So I think that the Fridays is a good idea, but I still think we're missing, maybe I should start at the top. Current reality, what do we know from the data? We know we've been improving. I mean, we've seen the plots, we know the grades that are behind, we know the grades that are ahead, we know where we are compared to other schools within the state. So we know we're improving, and that's good. Why change something that's improving unless we can make it improve quicker? And that's why Tutorial Fridays, because we think that would have some added benefit. But I think this priority need, what's the next important step? I still don't think teachers and students understand this, what is it, 8th period? I just don't think
So
that's.
that's a middle school, high school?
That's at the middle school and high school also, right? Yeah, from what I was hearing during last school year, I mean, obviously I'm not really hearing anything right now as far as academics and kids and parents, but even at the end of last year, I kept hearing this 8th period doesn't work. And to me, Tutorial Friday is great, but we need to get that program.
So is that supposed to be tutorial or what's it supposed to be?
Yeah, advisory, so it's a multitude of things, right? Especially in the high school, you're able to do a lot of the required college and career readiness stuff. We're able to do character strong, keep track of grades, help, and it could be another intervention time for students to go around. So there's just a multitude of things we put in there, and it also becomes when we do our assemblies or things like that, it happens at 8th grade, so you're not always missing, say, math for those things. So it is a catch-all of a lot of required things that we need to do. And so the intent is, and I think that very explicit, the intent is to be able to have the times to be very explicit and say, let's talk about character. Let's do college and career, like you science and things like that. So the intent is to have the time to actually do those things that are important.
But the teachers have to be, the teachers have to buy into it and have to really do it, not just say, I'm busy doing your homework or whatever.
And we have teachers who are telling students, no, you can't go to this. Even though maybe a teacher said, yes, you can come to me during that period and get some tutelage of some sort. We've got another teacher says, no, the rule is you do not leave my classroom during that period. Okay, well, this teacher hasn't bought into it. Or you have a student who says, okay, I need to work on AR points or something, and the teacher says, no, this is the program, this is what we are working on in this class, but it's not really intended to be another,
Study.
well, it is supposed to be like a study hall, but some teachers will have like a semester-long project that they have the students participating in and doing, but it's not really improving them academically in their other classes. It's just something that the teachers come up additional.
It's kind of like busy working games.
Correct. That is my understanding.
I mean,
Not all teachers. Some teachers are utilizing this really well, but some teachers are saying,
I don't think there's a way to measure though how they're using it well at all.
well, I think that's where you have to have administration going around and seeing what's going on and asking students, what do you do in this class?
It's not consistent, it doesn't seem.
It's very interesting. And to the credit of like leadership, there was steps to try to improve it.
Correct.
Last year, there were steps, and it did get better. And we know, we know this because we have kids in the class, and they're coming to us and saying, I had homework, and my teacher said I couldn't do it.
I had to work on this game project.
I had to work on this game project, and you go, what's the game there? It's nothing, it's just a thing.
Was it for that character strong that they're supposed to be?
Sometimes
Or was it just?
they're
something
disguised as
thought?
games.
Sure, but
Well, but they shouldn't be doing that the entire period all the time.
Yeah.
They
Is it a whole
should be
period, like
working
40
on it.
minutes? or-
Yeah, so I think that's the thing. And usually what we do is set up is one of the days is a character strong lesson, because we have in units, right, so you have 6-week unit, 1 day a week, it's Character Strong, 1 day a week, and so it's supposed to be set up like that.
Right. So I'm pro having some of these tutorial Fridays, but I do think that this could be used, I think this 8th period could be utilized in such a way that you want to see the Fridays being utilized.
Because like your child probably wouldn't get invited to the tutorial because unless they're
They're
really,
helpless.
yeah, well, I mean, I'm just saying unless they're really struggling. Because the beauty of the tutorial is if you only have 3 or 4 kids, you can really focus, but if you have 25, you're not gonna get anything done.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. There's plenty of times I need one-on-one help.
I mean, I agree with the 8th period. I know there's some requirements, but it does seem like we could take great steps to organize it and improve it. I 100% agree with it. I mean, we've experienced with our kids, we've experienced with, I just ask kids that I know, like, how is that class, what do you do? And almost all of them say it's a freebie, do whatever you want, or it's unproductive for them. And so.
Is this high school level or middle school or both?
I have more high school kids, so I hear about it more, I have more middle school kids, so I hear about it more there. But I've asked my nephews, I've asked people, and the answers are the same. So it's not really a different answer, I just have more details personally, because I have kids in middle school. And like I said, some of my kids come home with hours and hours of homework, and when they can't do it in their 8th period class, it's supposed to be for some academic support, like it's pretty frustrating.
And sometimes that's okay. I mean, sometimes a teacher should have a characters drawn program, right? But when it's consistently, we can't do these things that, like homework, that was the intention of the program.
And they made some improvements, like some of the kids that were doing well in class could go, they made some other classes available for them, like some of them did choir during that time if they had good grades, or they made some adjustments, but it's still overall, it feels like it could be much more nice. On the tutorial Friday, this sounds to me, everyone I've talked to on this board, I think we all agree and have advocated for tutorial Fridays. Like, we could probably debate exactly how we do it and how it should be ran, but I don't see any of us saying we don't think this should absolutely happen. We have plenty of kids that need additional help.
So what our problem basically is 8th period. And it sounds to me, you know, as kind of an outsider, that it is not well organized. It was probably not bought into by the staff. And kids were told that it was going to be a chance to get your homework done, you know, get some help with that math if you didn't understand it during class hour, you know, to just get your homework done and stuff like that. And that hasn't happened. So.
And the academic advisors aren't necessarily their teachers in anything. They're kind of randomly assigned. And so if they need help with math, well, they need to go to Mr. Hunter, but Mr. Hunter's not their academic advisor, and the person that's there can't help them. So it is this awkward, you know, how do I get help if I don't have a math teacher? How do I get help if I don't have, it is kind of that situation some, so.
And you have kids trying to go to another teacher. Well, that teacher may be teaching a different class period. You know, it may have already have people all lined up to teach. So logistically, there's some difficulties there, and I don't have an answer how to fix those issues, but.
Do they still have after school, like when my daughter was there, they couldn't start sports till 4, so from 3:30 to 4 or whatever,
Yes,
they
yes.
could go and
OTI.
get.
So those
they could-
OTI,
They could go get help.
they can go get help, but then you come back to the question, well, what is academic support for them if they have OTI?
Character ed, I don't know.
It's a catch-all for a lot of the things that we need to do.
Right, but could you put character ed in a different way? What are other schools doing for character ed? I know there's other options for character ed out there, because other schools are doing it.
Right.
So, that's my 2 cents on that, but Tutorial Friday, we should do it. We need to do it. It's something that our community needs. I think we all think that, right?
Yeah, and it needs us, like I said, when the teachers come that first day, here's the schedule, these are the days they're gonna be Friday tutorial, more information will be coming later to you about, you know, how we're gonna do it, but just plan on this Friday of the month, you will be doing
I
tutorial.
would love to see Ryan present us with what he thinks would work for Tutorial Fridays. Because I think you have something in your mind that you think, I could sell this and organize it and get behind it. And I would love to see your plan for Tutorial Fridays. Because I think you have knowledge that we don't, and you could tell us what you think would function.
I do, and I have actually a pretty good plan put out. The good part about it is that we are, you know, the first 4 weeks or 5 weeks of Fridays, we do have school. So we have a little bit of time if you guys want to see me roll that out. Unfortunately, I mean, well, we'll get there. There's a large fiscal part of that, which is okay. Even lunches, because you have to pay 100% of lunches because we don't get them reimbursed that day. If it's not a regular school day, and it's not a required attendance day, you will have to pay 100% of food, staffing costs, all of those things, which is, if that's a goal of ours and we want to invest in it, that's what we do, and we realize that there's a fiscal cost of those things. Having staff come on another day, even if you say, oh, it's 20%, but that's a big cost, but we have it to invest in learning, right? And so, anyway, I want to hear from Donnie real quick, and then I think I'm getting it crafted, and I have an answer for you as well. So.
Well, I guess, just speaking of Tutorial Friday stuff, I like the fact that we should be able to give an opportunity to these kids to be able to get the help they need, but it takes more buy-in than just the staff. It's going to take buy-in from the students. That's been a huge problem in the past. I mean, go for a conference, nobody shows up. So how do we get the students there that we want there? Talk about it. What about their parents and their community buy-in with that? I mean, if they got right. Last time we were trying to do some of this stuff, I remember parents didn't know when the heck it was going to be, it was off and on, there was no planning or no information on that. And so that's going to be an issue too. We'll start thinking about that. Again, I would love to hear your plan, so we can do that at some point. As far as the 8th period, I've heard the same thing you guys are hearing from my own kids and from others. It's like, what are we doing here? I'm not going to be dead horse that, but that's what I've heard. But it does kind of fit into something that I was thinking. I was thinking more of, as being an employer in a certain way, and dealing with a lot of people coming out of the high school or coming into our career field doing our senior projects or some other things and asking questions. Some of these kids don't even know their basic stuff. Like, how do we build that? Basic, right? Or kids asking me, how do you do loans on homes? Or how do you do loans on getting a car? Like, how do you not know these basic things? Like, these are things that we should be teaching kids, not just everything else that the state wants us to teach. And so my thoughts were like adding some of these basic stuff. I mean, I know we have a personal finance class, at least at one point we did, that's supposed to cover some of this stuff. But even then, when I asked about some of the kids that have been in that, guys, like, we're not getting half of that stuff. So, I don't know, kind of more of an issue that I think that we try to address, but it's just not being addressed. And maybe the 8th period stuff, we could add some of that, okay.
And I think and I call them adult skills, and the 8th period should be covering that, especially that's where our seniors go. They have their 8th period remember we used to do career exploration, right? I mean, they do a lot of it in 8th period now, which is your writing resumes, doing interviewing, and doing those things. That's what it's supposed to happen. So
Yeah, I just think that even just structure-wise.
So what you're saying is it's not the problem of the 8th period class, it's the problem that there's no structure for it, no.
I mean, I think both. I think if you're gonna continue it, it has to improve the structure. And if you're not gonna do it, there could be other options, right? Like we could get kids participating in more of these,
Life skills.
life skills. Like if you substitute 8th period and everyone learned construction or everyone learned whatever, like.
How to follow the job application.
Yeah, I mean, some of these life skills,
It's crazy that I've asked the questions.
Yeah, how to buy a car.
Well, I mean, just basic, how to do an interview, how to follow a job application, how to dress for an interview.
Oh, yeah, that's getting worse.
Okay, so I'm gonna maybe sound really ignorant with this comment. And I'm not proposing that we totally is structured, but we're on semesters here, right? So in high school in Blackville, we're on trimesters. And I don't know how that works with Oregon's requirements, but it seemed like we were able to get a lot more electives in. And maybe it's just because state requirements have ratcheted up, but it seems like kids don't have a lot of opportunity to take electives. Whereas I took wrestling class every year, and automotive and welding and stock market class, and Donnie's conversation about filling out credit applications and finances. I learned way more in my stock market A and stock market B classes than I did in my mandatory economics class in high school, as far as those things go. But is that part of the problem here, that we just don't have enough electives for kids to take these sorts of classes? Or not that we wouldn't offer them, but we can't offer them because we're so restricted?
Well, and we have to remember that the 12 years that we have these kids, that for a lot of them is the only formal education they get. And so, yes, they need to know what the stock market's about. They need to know how to apply at a bank for a loan to buy a house. You know, I talked to an orthodontist, actually he graduated from NISA, and I asked him, what did you feel was lacking in your high school education? And he said, it wasn't lacking, it was me. He said, I was more interested in science and math. He said, I did well in those classes, but I should have paid attention to business, some business classes, some accounting classes, some how to get along with people classes. So, you know, we have a huge job to do in our education system, and we need to do it.
I think a part of it is as well, there are some lack of communication, not communication is not a word, but like cohesion between the middle school and the high school. Specifically in math, I know that's true. You know, we have these like honor society things and these 4-year math, and a lot of these kids are taking advanced math in middle school. Those don't count towards, at least one of those classes doesn't count towards their high school credit. So half the time they retake a class they already took. Like, it's very disorganized in the way that our middle school requirements meet up with our high school requirements. I don't know if you've looked at that, but I have a daughter doing that right now. And I have nephews that have had to take college credits because they couldn't take them in high school because, anyways, it just doesn't line up. And it's a matter of what is required of the high school, what is being performed in middle school. Are the kids even knowledgeable about what they're going to have to do? Like, my daughter, in order to actually do the math, is probably going to have to repeat the same class she already took. She got an A in middle school. And that makes very little sense. So there's some of these things that, like, she could be taking some of these other classes. She could be an FFA. She could be, and instead she's having to do a class that she already did. You know, so I think there is something about connecting our middle school requirements and our high school requirements. And I don't know why that is.
Well, there seems to be sort of a disconnect throughout in, like, our English classes, you know, from middle school into high school, and our math classes. There should be some continuity. And one of the things that I felt that when we sent all those individuals to Laguna was that they were all together. They were all from different areas, but they were all together, and they were able to suddenly say, you know, we can do this, and you can do this, and we'll have it all lined up. And we don't have that sort of continuity. And maybe we need to get our people together so we have that.
And we do in kind of our PLCs, the math PLC, and we tackle just this kind of halfway through. And that's exactly, there's a continuity of those kids through. And I think it's a lack of understanding of what is the ultimate goal for these advanced kids, right? And also the other ones, like Math 180, is saying that, you know, when we met, right, in that PLC, is like, if we want to get them in calculus, how do we get them there? Right, you still need your 3-year algebra, 1-year algebra, 2-year geometry, your pre-calc, like, how do you get them there in high school? So I think that's part of that lack of understanding, and there's that as a parent, as being an informed parent, saying, you know, we don't really want them to have calculus in high school, we'd rather them wait until they go to college, because they're probably gonna have to take it anyway, right? And then say, well, now let's redo your pathway, because the pathway they're on right now says you're gonna be in calculus.
But at the same time, when we had Dana Young come in and talk to us, there has got to be a way that some of these high school classes can qualify for college credit. And she said that a lot of it was because our teachers, our own teachers.
Yeah, our math does, calculus does, Brad Dalton is dual credit, and so most of them do count for that, they earn college credit for it.
But I'm just
Pre-count,
saying,
count.
we need to have that.
No, it does not, so. that's
It used to count,
Yeah.
but it doesn't anymore. We don't have anyone trained or
Yeah.
qualified for it.
But I think part of the issue is we don't have people talking to the kids about this.
Yeah.
Seventh, eighth graders aren't hearing these words.
Right. Madison knows about these. We had the same conversation in our house this week because Whitney's doing her homework and looking at things and calling town and talking to people and figuring it out with Madison. But we asked Maddie, all right, who has talked to you about these options? This is what you've done in middle school, this is what you need to do in high school. And she says, nobody. And we say, okay, who's talked to you about this is what you need to do in high school if you want to do dual enrollment and get some college credit? The answer is nobody. Nobody has talked to these kids about it. And so no matter how much the teachers get together and meet about these issues and say, this is the pathway, it doesn't make any difference to the kids if nobody talks to the kid about it.
And I think kids and parents and having that communication about this is the path we're on, which is a good place for advisory, right? Just so that you know, I mean, that when we do forecasting, that's it, hey, I need to know, this is your path right now, what are we doing? There is a lack of understanding, I think it's a lack of communication on our part to say, this is the trajectory of where, do you want them to be in an honors diploma? We need to have this conversation in 6th, 7th grade. If honors is where you're going, you need to know this is the classes you need to take to go through. And make an informed decision. Sometimes, like, I don't want my kid to take an algebra 1 in 6th or 7th grade. Right? I don't want them to, you know, I do think that there is a.
So is there a parent meeting in middle school where they talk about all this stuff?
No.
Maybe there should be.
There probably should be.
There should. Yeah.
And even an honor rolls meeting or something, because not that every kid wants to do that, but the kids that do are probably self-identifying in 6th grade and can be said, hey, if you want to do honors, like, remember, these are the requirements.
Well, and even just for the everyday kid like my kids who aren't going to be honor, you know, just this is what you have to take, this is what you'll have to take. I mean, just parents need to know, because not every kid's going to be in the honors program.
Right.
Yeah, and sometimes we need to remember that parents are really involved when their kids are in elementary school. But when they get to middle school, parents sort of back off because that's foreign territory. And, you know, they feel uncomfortable. And when the kid becomes a high school student, a lot of parents say, okay, here are the car keys, just get yourself there. You know,
I don't remember talking to my parents at all about these are the classes I'm taking and why. I mean, other than I'm taking this class because it's fun.
I can tell you that I went, I didn't even know we had honors, I didn't know who that was. I went to high school.
Right. But we also had like A through F is assigned to this counselor and so on and so forth. And we had times throughout the school year where it was mandatory. We were to go and talk to our counselor, and the counselor's job wasn't to counsel us on our emotions, but to counsel us on this is your path, this is the path you're on, this is what you still need. And I'm sure there were kids with parents who were involved in that, and my parents just said, "Doing great, son."
That would be fine. even if I, you know, even when I went, even had the council provide behind the school, which was starting, I thought, my parents would, yeah, so, but, yeah, no, I can tell you, I didn't know, and it's funny because when my daughter hit middle school, and seventh grade grade, she didn't really want to go into high school and get the honor stuff, and she didn't want to be on, you know, I wouldn't take it. So,
Well, and even if we had a parent meeting, you know, middle school, and then maybe at the PAC meeting, if they had it in Spanish to talk to those parents about it.
But we also have a lot of parents who don't go to those meetings. And how do you reach out to those parents?
At some point, there's personal responsibility. I mean, if we're offering it, and we're offering it in multiple languages, and some people still aren't gonna get involved, the best that can be done is we hope there's a teacher there who is gonna reach out to the student and say, let me help you out.
And we can give Miguel some assignments too, and that's kind of what he does, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, yes, that's what I do. And so, I think, kind of listening to all of this, and I just want to make sure I'm kind of summing it up, and while obviously, you know, how wordsmith is to find and maximize opportunities to increase learning, right? That's our big goal. When I say find tutorial Fridays, maybe having a 0 period, you know, finding other opportunities to increase learning, and maximize, when I say maximize, is improving something like tutorial. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, academically, but also, I mean, we look at elementary as well, is we talk about instructional coherence, is making sure that our interventions are matching with our core instruction. I think that's the big picture. What do you guys think about that? And what I can do, and so that if that's our goal, my thought is we can help track that, saying, okay, here's a plan for tutorial Friday. We go in every Friday or every advisory a couple times a week, and we just say, tell us what are kids doing. So I say, is there an increase in what kids are doing? Right. So I mean, that should help
Or
us.
is there a structure that's been outlined and specified?
Okay. And we do have a structure, and what we can do is share with you guys the structure. I mean, it is, like I said, planned out. And you play this video this day, and I mean, everything is pretty well scripted in that way. Doesn't mean it's followed to the level of what you think. That being said, I think that there is I mean, we kind of dabbled a little bit in goal 3, which community engagement resources, like how are we engaging our communities in the academics of their students. And we need to increase that by getting more program awareness stuff, having more parent engagement meetings. Right? I mean, I think that's something you guys want. I know we live a lot in middle school, high school, because it's confusing, but I do think we need to dabble a little bit in our elementary and say, how are we getting those resources? Excuse me, the smoke's getting to me.
I've had 3 packs today myself.
Yeah. Is arming them with the information of how to actually help their kids too. I think you said that. Like, parents still have. I mean, we can't just say like let's give them some tools to help with the reading. They can't only be. Hopefully, every tutorial or every Friday we have a tutorial. Like, we need to find other opportunities to do it. So anyway, so back to goal 1. What did you guys think about something in that realm with wording? I have very specific measures of which we can improve on what you guys want to see and to see growth in that. What do you think?
I think they're fine, but with some bullet points underneath of what that looks like.
Yeah.
Meaning tutorial Fridays, some things with academic support.
Well, and that's what this, I want to put it in this format,
Gotcha.
right? This is still going to be our overall, but you guys will have very board specific ones in this. This is still our strategic plan. This, So it'll look like this. I'll have a goal. Here are the strategies and how you will, keep our system accountable. What do you think?
Yeah, sounds good.
Is that good? And have very measurable things in there. So.
You know, Ryan, one thing that we didn't touch on is and you alluded to it, was our grade school. In the grade school, parents are really involved with their kids. We need to catch those parents then to keep them involved so that when the kid gets to middle school, they still have a path, because parents lose what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I think we could do it.
So maybe it's a meeting toward the end of the school year. Here's a meeting for 5th grade parents. This is what to expect going into middle school. Here's a meeting for 8th grade parents. Here's what to expect going into high school.
Yeah, you can start that conversation earlier on, and then that way parents, you have an understanding of what to expect for their kids going into middle school, going into high school, or whatever it will be.
Yeah, and at grade school, it could be pretty close to the end of the year. For middle school, maybe it needs to be the beginning of the year and the end of the year, because it's really important for them to know, this is what you need to do this year in middle school, because this is how it will impact you going into high school. So maybe it's the end of elementary school, beginning of middle school, end of middle school.
The thing is we cannot lose contact with those parents, because, parents still have a lot of impact on their kids. Even if the kids don't believe they do.
Yeah, well, with what the parents are doing in elementary, really. Come in to help out or volunteer, we can do that, we can manage field trips and stuff like that, and then pick them up from middle school on. So, my thought is, again, go back to what do I know as a parent that I can do in middle school to help? Or even in high school to help, because, again, you're pushing them into those two schools, and I think,
Well, and, looking at attendance, where Malheur County actually cites the kid if he doesn't show up for school. And it's the parent who oftentimes suddenly realizes, oh, yeah, I didn't know my kid wasn't going to school. Not until I got that. Maybe we need to have a little more impact like that.
you can get the job.
It's all in
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
She doesn't support it.
Well,
Attendance.
very lenient, let's put it that way. So you got the school, you sign out, well, you got the school, but all this work into it, you get it there, and then it's there, it's like, one more time.
maybe the school itself has to have a way of being able to contact that parent. And I
Well-
don't know.
I mean, I know the process pretty good.
Yeah, you know the whole legal
On
process.
this side of it, but I don't know, the judge needs to put money into it.
So are they elected?
And I think we do have a very robust attendance kind of policy through it, like not only the support, but letters, the calls, yes, sir, I was going to the house. I mean, we do a lot of work. It takes a lot to get to that point, and what that point is, like, with multiple meetings, and hey, and so that's part of it, is like, it's already, the chance is already gone, it's accountability now. And so, anyway.
It's interesting how accountability and money go hand in hand.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. All right, guys, and I will write these up and look for more feedback from you. I'm just trying to, like I said, craft all of those things in there. So the next one, employee investment and engagement. Let's start with Maribel.
Pardon me?
Let's start with Maribel. What she said.
I hope Maribel's enjoying her conference.
I hope so.
Okay. Maribel says longevity in staff showing up for work is improved. Then she alludes to the partnership with Mountain Memorial Services. She says that we need to set up training plans or plans for employees to grow within their department or within their field. Whether, and these are my words, whether it's laterally or vertically. we need to give our employees or provide that opportunity for our employees. And I'm not sure how that can be done in some instances.
So what would that look like in your mind? Like in your mind, how would that, like opportunities for professional development, or what, I mean, what is that?
Yeah, well, and she goes on to say, have a plan for targeted personal development to further growth of employees to support student educational growth.
Do we have programs for teachers to get paid for additional certificates or master's degrees or things like that?
So if you look at our pay scale, that's where you see not only years, but you have credits as well. And so if you take, the more classes you take that are college classes, you'll move across that scale until you hit masters, and then at masters, if you're at masters, then you keep going. So it's very incentivizing that you get 22 credits, which is, I mean, it's like a $6,000 increase.
Okay, so it's increased pay, but we don't necessarily help facilitate getting those credits.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. And I do think there are a lot of opportunities out there for our classified staff, in particular, to get scholarships, Eastern Oregon, and then, you know, like there's GCU, a lot of opportunities that is paid for these, paid for to take the classes for free and actually get a degree or certificate.
Is that information out to our people?
Yes. Yep.
But you know, go ahead.
Okay.
But you know, you can know about those kinds of things, but sometimes if you're not incentivized, you're not going to follow up on it. I mean, it's a lot of work to go to a class.
But they are incentivized. More pay.
You get more
Way more, yep.
That's the, but
But what I found was, as a teacher, was more beneficial to my students is like 1 year they would send all the 5th grade teachers to a reading conference in Boise where there was like a well-known children's author, and they had all these little workshops where you could learn to do things right there. You know, stuff like that. I mean, I could take a class online, sorry, and pass it and not get much out of it. But if my whole team went to a conference in Boise or somewhere close where we learned, okay, if you do this, this, and this with your kids, it works, that was way more beneficial.
yeah, and that alludes back to our people who went to La Concecha, was it was an entire group. You know, they developed a fellowship, it was team building too, in addition, and that's what you're talking about.
Yeah,
It's
because
team
our whole
building.
team went and got to sit and have lunch and say, well, if you do this and I do that, you know, you had time to.
In an informal setting instead of in a formal setting.
And there's not very many opportunities, there's never any money to go, or never, you know, and there are some good local ones.
Any other thoughts? I think I got crafted some good things.
I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I send teams out in my own employment to go get education. It's a game changer as far as like their care for patients in my office. Like as they develop skills together, they lean on each other, they use each other's resources. I think we should develop a very strategic plan for academic improvement in areas that we see weaknesses. You know, like one thing that we saw that I remember really off the top of my head was like middle school math, for example. That was a weakness that we showed. So to me, it makes sense to develop a strategic plan academically for our math teachers in that area. Maybe send them to a Cosecha type thing where they can go and they can learn together. We can identify some really great strategies for them to come together as a group and teach. I think that would make a lot of sense. It could be, you know, we could plan years of, okay, these are the highlighted areas of weakness in academically. Let's take this group of teachers and let's send them to this education. I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't have any specifics of like what those classes are. You would have much more knowledge of that, but I think we should invest in that type of education.
But like in middle school math, if the kids don't know their basic facts, I'm talking about basic multiplication and division, and the teachers are having to teach that they should have learned in elementary, and the elementary teachers aren't teaching it because they have all this other crap they have to teach. They need to master those basic facts, so when they get to middle school and get to that more advanced math.
And I think if we identify that in the testing, hey, we identify in the testing these kids aren't learning their basic math skills. Okay, well that's a great opportunity to take those teachers in elementary school and let's send them some education.
If they have to go 5 times 5, 5, 10, you know, they're not gonna get.
Yeah, exactly. So if we can use our statistics that we did every year and then make a plan for those teachers to get academic support and improve their skills and do it as a team, that they'll work together, I think that makes a lot of sense.
They should leave 5th grade just knowing their basic facts inside and out, so they're ready for that.
Isn't that the requirement?
No, because when I taught 5th grade, there was so much other stuff that we had to do that we didn't work on basic facts. I did.
So,
Yeah, but I think we can identify those things through testing. And I think we have already identified some. I guarantee you go off the top of your head and say, I could pick out 3 or 4 areas and maybe pick the top ones, and this year we focus on that. And next year, you know, based off of testing and priorities, let's focus on this. So,
Well, part of it is using data to identify areas we need to strengthen in our teaching practices that is targeted. And as you know, we do that, right? So what happens is, so tomorrow during that council, it's the second one, we review the data, we said, okay, this is my building math, 8th grade math is obviously it. We have building goals tied to that. And so, I mean, that is just a constant thing, but I think.
but is there something we could send them together as a group? Could we do a COSECHA type of thing? That's
Yeah.
what I would.
And that's where I would look at is not only just building goals, but very specific teacher goals to say, hey, here's our building need deficiency. We need to send you, here's some opportunities for that. So I think it is.
But to send them as a team so they
Yeah.
can all get in and all.
And can we dedicate some money to it?
Yeah.
Can we come together and say, yeah, that's worth spending money on?
And we do have a lot of money set aside for that.
Yeah.
Not only site council has, I think, 15,000, 10,000, whatever it is, money for just building, we have set aside here at the district just for those things, because we kind of heard a lot of seconds. But I do think we can't just say, do it, we have the infrastructure support that being done.
Yeah.
So, as a team, which is important, right?
I think so.
I just think if you learn something as an individual, it's good. If you learn something as a group, the chance of it sticking and that you are building with it, it just increases. I just seen that in my own practice, and I think it's
Well, and
absolutely
then
true.
they could say, okay, in 6th grade, you do this in math, in 7th grade, you know, and they could.
And they're together on these things, and they're talking about it. Hey, what did you teach your? Oh, you teach them that? I didn't know you did that. You know.
well, that's the big thing, is that communication. Because so often that's missing.
You could tell with the COSECHA,
Yeah,
they came back with a different form of communication.
that's right. And that's what I've alluded to, is
Yeah.
that they came back as a team. I mean, they went as a team, but they came back as a real team.
Yeah, but much more than they were.
Mhm.
Did you, I'm sorry, Diane, did you guys have something to add to that? Or does that sound like we're in the right area?
I have something
Everybody's
else
thoughts?
to add.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about, it talks about retaining teachers and retaining staff. I think we need to do more celebrations with the teachers, because you know that you business owners, that if you appreciate your staff, they're gonna feel better and stay. I'm not just talking about buying them donuts or lunch, but even like I noticed in Ontario for the firemen, they do a spotlight on a different fireman every month. I don't know if anybody else gets it on Facebook, and they talk about this. But, spotlight some teachers, and not just the ones who always get it, but, and just say, hey, 5th grade, you guys did a great job. We're going to let you go a half an hour early Friday, or, here's a $5 gift certificate to go get a cup of coffee, or whatever. But, I mean, we need to celebrate them and make them feel appreciated so they will want to work harder and stay. I don't think we do enough of that.
We do volunteer of the month. Do we do teacher of the month?
Yeah, a
Staff
staff.
member. Staff
But I
member.
mean, we don't have a school paper, we don't have a city paper, but you know, we could do a spotlight or on the
Like
teacher.
on Facebook or something?
Yeah, well, they do that in Facebook with the Ontario Fire Department, that's what kind of
We
gave me
did
the
that when we
idea.
did the torch.
Right.
thing.
Yeah, but I don't know, just say, hey, you know, PE department's done great, let's, you know, you guys get, we really appreciate everything, and talk about it at a staff meeting or something, or, I don't know, just make them feel really appreciated. Because they are working hard, and sometimes you just don't feel like you're appreciated.
My piece is the opposite, kind of that. I think it needs happening around. My side is the other side of the accountability piece with employees, because that's, you can get like one or two bad apples in a summer, basic leadership stuff, but, and it's not just the fact of whether it is or isn't happening, it's the perception of that, right? And it's one of the things that I get here around is, you're probably not heard it, is like certain employees are doing certain things, it doesn't seem like anything's happening, not that that's not happening. Obviously, you know, leadership can't talk about what's going on in that, it's illegal, but, but still there's a perception of, okay, you know, that nothing's happening, or hey, we've got a problem, or, you know, this person's just continuing.
Well, and the whole staff, you could just say, hey, you guys all been working hard, we appreciate you.
Yeah, and like I say, I'm just talking about the accountability. side of
Right,
things.
yeah.
If there is accountability, how do we show in a way that that's being done without being able to talk about that with specific employees, obviously, but, you know, I think that's good.
I do think there is a perception that I've had from teachers that talk to me that certain things don't get addressed, and I disagree with their notion completely, but I do think it is a perception,
That's
for sure. And that is a cultural shift that still needs to happen. And I don't know exactly how that happened, but when it talks about employee investment and engagement, if an employee feels like, and they're talking to everybody about it, my voice is never heard, and these issues never are addressed, that's a dissatisfied employee. How do you, I don't know, I just know it's an issue. So,
a morale killer.
yeah, it's a morale killer, that's the right answer.
That was just my thing, can't have for that. We talk a lot about how do we go along, which is important. But we don't talk about enough how we take care of the ones that are not putting the effort to want to build up their report before actually becoming sour grapes. So, sorry.
No more sour grapes.
I know, because I agree with Tim.
I'm like,
No, I think this is really good. I like both ends of the spectrum. We want to celebrate the things we're going right, but also address the things that are going wrong. I mean, it's, and I think perception is a big part of it.
Or highlight
Yeah.
the great changes. I mean, I know we do that, but I mean, I've been here a year. I've seen some great changes. You know, I've seen some great things in a year. I'm sure there'll be a lot more, and you can't highlight them all because some of them have, you know, they were things that had to happen, but they were kind of tough.
Yeah.
But change is happening. Things are improving. They, you know, so.
Well, I think sometimes then when you're coming from an older system and you see that change, you gotta believe it that it's happened. Right. No, I'm only gonna see the negative, right? And how to get people to actually see it. People are being held accountable a little more, but not a lot more. I agree. That's one of my personal goals. So, I'm gonna craft that, so I have two areas, is investing in our employees' education, and, I mean, using data in targeted areas, and then as teams help develop kind of a more consistent, coherent plan. And then also, how are we going to celebrate our employees more, and then also support the ones that need it a little better. So, something like that, does that sound good? And then I can give you guys measurable things, and then we can do that.
well, also, how an employee can grow within his or her position. I mean, I may be the janitor, and that's where I want to be and what I want to be, but how can I grow in that particular position?
Mhm.
No.
Send them to the Museum of Clean in Pocatello.
Is there really
Is
one?
it really?
Yes, there
Don
is.
Haslett built the Museum of Clean in Pocatello.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
you
there
go.
really is.
That's awesome.
I don't know what's made up.
I don't know if it's worse that
It is
it
real.
exists or you actually know it.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
built it.
I used to live a
Yeah.
mile from it in college, so they were building it when I was
Yeah.
in college. I assume it's still there.
It is.
Is it?
Pat does too.
Yeah, okay, so the next one, community engagement and resources, strengthen community involvement, improve communication, enhance resource accessibility. Thoughts on this one?
Okay, Maribel says, the community has been engaged with what's happening at the district. We have a partnership with the NISA Chamber, state planning programs, and overall transparency and trust is being built. What we need, more uniform and regular communication and focusing on student successes would be great. Celebrate small and large successes, which we were just saying with, employees in general. More opportunities in having pride in students, staff, parents, and supporting community members. The evidence of success will be the community and school will have a general understanding of school events, successes, and overall positive outlook on our growth. And I would like to say, we need to develop a communication system because we don't have a newspaper. Not everyone sees Facebook, and this is just one of those things that, well, you and I have talked about it before, Ryan.
Text message.
Having a town crier, the way they used to have in the 1700s. I mean,
Well, the school did the newspaper, the town newspaper for a while. Is that out of the budget or out of the, because they had a, like this, I don't know, this, I remember it was this length and it
It's
was.
like a mailer.
Yeah, they got mailed to every person. What if we did it with the chamber, and the chamber paid for half and we paid for half, and the chamber could have some city stuff and then we could have some, I don't know.
I mean, the Adrian School District sends out a newsletter.
Yes, I did.
I mean, everything's possible, right? It's just, it's human capital that sometimes.
We have a
lacking.
teacher that could teach it, and is it, I don't know, maybe meet with the chamber and see how much it would cost, I don't know.
We're still on a flyer. I mean,
Well, that's what it was, like we could have the chamber news on one and the school news on the other, or something, and
So
Yeah, I
it's,
think it's just one of the problem we do with everything is communication, and with certain people in certain ways, and maybe not all get all of it, and the same with the paper, not everybody reads the newspaper, not everybody reads the flyers, and so, that's all, this particular issue is always gonna be a battle, I don't care how much you put into it. And so, I don't know, I like the idea of maybe putting a flyer out, it hasn't been being done, it wasn't done in the old day, maybe, I don't know, we should do others who are more.
well, and even people like me who don't have kids in school, if I wasn't on the board, I'd be interested in what was going on at school.
Well, I think, or I'm seeing it right now, you have that exact paper, you have middle school or elementary, middle, high school, little events that are coming in the next month, backside in Spanish, front side's in English, and maybe have a little section at the bottom that says, these jobs are open in the district, like, I can see.
Is there a way to get it out without mailing it?
I
I
don't,
mean,
but
you
see,
could
that's, I
send
said
it-
if
you
the
could send it
chamber would
PDF
do
in a
it, but
text.
and put some of the chambers.
put some of the chamber news, the city news, and then maybe they could pay for half, or, I don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But it could be sent in a text message, and put on Facebook.
But I do think the problem is that the only people who are on those text messages are people who are parents. So like we're looking to broaden our reach
Yeah.
on it.
Well, and Brian, one of the things that I noticed, we were talking about why the Vale School District was getting all this notoriety. I still take a newspaper, and when you look at that newspaper, if you're looking for school news, you see Vale. You don't see Ontario. UC Vale or UC Fruitland. But that's in the local arts, so, you know,
I just think that'd be a great way to communicate with everybody. in the
yeah,
district.
we need to do something.
I think I really like what Maribel said, is create a uniform and regular communication method. And that being one of them, if I are finding a way, it's regular. I look at every Friday, I communicate to you guys how kind of going on. Doesn't mean I can't do the same thing every Friday, just to let you know, this is coming up next week, here are some highlights. We want to highlight the spelling bee champion, you know, things like that that could occur and take up much more to do something of that nature.
The superintendent's weekly note.
That's what I was thinking, and we just put it on Facebook, that way we're not texting everybody out and they start ignoring, but we just put that on Facebook. Share it. check it
May I
out.
suggest that you get each of your principals, put just a little
Yeah.
blurb in with that,
Yeah.
so that it's not just the superintendent, it's the entire school district.
Yes. So, but it has to be, have to find something that is uniform and regular communication. Every week would be great, then you're tying everybody down, and so,
Yeah.
but, anyway. So that communication plan
Yeah,
is uniform
sports.
and regular way to communicate.
Upcoming sports events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Openings,
Yeah.
openings, right?
Well, you can do it, so,
Yeah.
the key piece is put it on the way everything's gonna get, understand it's gonna be there at a certain time.
Okay. Anything to add to that area?
I
Yeah.
I have two areas, I'll talk about these two areas, but I still like to see them improved. Community engagement in sports, to me, would be an improvement. I would love to still have a community member on some of these boards to hire coaches. I think that, I don't know the exact way to do it, but it does feel like there's never a community member that's not in the school district that's ever hired. It just doesn't happen. Or it's very, very rare. I think that we should have a community board, a community member on the hiring board.
For all coaches or just for like a head coach?
I don't know the answer. I just know that right now, the community as a whole feels very disenfranchised from that involvement. I talk to all
All
time.
coaches.
Yeah, I would think, yeah, maybe you run for it, maybe you get put on there, maybe, I don't know, but there should be some community involvement there. Two is even being on the school board, I never know what coaching positions are open. And I'm sure I could go on a website and find it. But the community, if I don't know, and I'm on the school board, the community certainly doesn't know what job postings are available for coaching our children. And that's an important thing to me. I think it's an important thing for our district. Like, we can improve our communication about job openings for sports and coaches.
So what about the job positions that are, you know, just within the district? I mean, we hire some of our
I
coaches,
think those should be
assistant
known too,
coaches
yeah.
are, you know, just within the district. They're not open to the public. Should they all be open?
I think they're all over.
They're technically open,
Yeah.
just no one knows about it.
Yeah.
Unless you're actively going on a website and looking for it.
I think having that regular communication thing, that is a piece that needs to be added in there. Because it's not just that. You know, we're always looking for bus drivers. We're all, you know, and just, hey, I know that they're looking for some food service. I know that you're, you know.
And everyone
just
knows
looking for a
somebody.
place to work. Yeah.
Everyone knows somebody that says, dude, you're looking for a job and they're paid really good to be a bus driver.
Yeah.
Go do it. You know, like, everyone knows a teacher that's just about to graduate. Do you know that we have a job opening in PE right now? Like, dude, you should apply for that job. You'd be great. Everyone knows somebody. And I just feel like the communication about that is really poor. And we could improve it.
I think people get the opportunity to help us promote this. That's what it is. Very big. I look at the Longs, who are a great example of all promoting this in the finding people. They're always having conversations, finding good people to not only bring our school, but our community. I mean, and just having that.
I mean, I
Just
talk
works
to
in your
teachers
house.
every day from outside the district.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to tell them, hey, do you know what the job district?
Yeah,
You know?
that's what we want, so. Okay, does that sound, okay, that was one thing, was that two things? Is that both of them?
I was doing the communication, or the committee member,
On those posts then?
you remember?
And that would go as far as engaging them in a, more than just kind of engaging them in actually in the process of hiring, things like that, so.
I mean, you have a board that hires coaches.
Yep.
I just think somehow I mean, just like we have a budget committee application, maybe we have an application for someone in the community that is interested, that maybe is not overly biased towards, I want my kid to play, I don't want that. But I want someone that cares about our community and wants to be successful, but is not only in the school district.
And I think it changes per sport, right? If you want to put me on a tennis committee, I know good coaching. I don't need tennis to save my life, right? I mean, I wouldn't be the best person to be on it, so it kind of depends. Like, I know you are invested in tennis, would you like to please come and help us on this committee? I do think it has to be very specific, so, anyway,
And I think also you should have a limit.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I think one or two would be max on there. I don't,
Just have that perspective is something.
yeah,
We need an outside voice.
yeah.
And I agree with that.
Perfect, okay, last one is fiscal and innovation. Maribel, I'd love to hear from you
Maribel
first.
should have never typed this out so
Yeah.
nicely. Okay, she says, observations. Although progress is being made with new projects, it seems like timelines aren't being met and feet are being dragged for the employees' personal benefits rather than supporting and meeting the timelines of the superintendent and board of directors. And I think we've all noticed that in some way, shape, or form. Many projects are getting taken care of. Growth is felt and seen. Pride in facilities is noticed across our community, and this should be ongoing. We should have a shared vision of the continued growth of our school community. And I will say that we do have a facilities growth and planning committee, which I'm pleasantly surprised at. It's been very enlightening and the ideas have been very good.
You guys want to come? Actually, there's a lot of great things coming out of that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like you just swore.
Exactly. Any other thoughts with fiscal and innovation? I mean, Mrs. Ramos, what do you?
The only thing that I put down was, we finished phase 1, I know we have a phase 2, but we need to be more informed about this as a board, because I didn't know, and I know that if you put it off a year, or, I would just like to know what's in phase 2 and how we're gonna accomplish it and meet it.
Well, and also, we have this new little piece of property, and it would be nice to know what the plans are.
Isn't that phase 3 or something?
Possibly, but well, I mean, that's part of what our building committee is kind of trying to sort of mold. We do know we have some bigger rocks that we want to tackle, but I think like that new property, it was really slated for phase 3, but the opportunity came up now, and and so we had to kind of take that opportunity. The auditorium HVAC roof needs to be done. That, when we did the phases, now we have to slide down, and so I think that some things have changed, and having that building committee go on and say, here's our priority list now.
Well, maybe they need to report to us, because we don't know what they're talking about.
Oh, and that's the goal, is we finally kind of got the committee understanding where we're at, where we want to go. what the vision of the, or I guess the underlying principles of how we're going to operate. And so then they're starting to bring back data, and then I can report to you guys, here are some things that we have. It's more about the foundation of it, but I think that I haven't really communicated out phase 2 where we're at with everything, where my brain is at. Crystal stresses every day because I teach them, what are you doing in phase 2? Anyway, so.
Yeah, and I would like to know what we're gonna do about those tennis courts. I don't wanna spend any more money on fixing the cracks that we're gonna get more of. I mean, I just,
But you also don't want the kids playing on things
Yeah.
like this, you know, in the next year, so.
so, but I mean, you know, that's something we need to think about, because we put a lot of money into
Well, we
fixing those cracks.
we had it done, and then we turned around and redone here not long ago, and sort of back.
Mhm.
I tell you, the committee was, yeah, we talked about it, which I did it.
Yeah.
So, well, can't have kids playing on the weekend stuff, but what are we gonna do to make it permanent? Or that's just more of a permanent fix, I guess. So we'll have to look at this in a couple of years and fix it right out.
So I'll let you know, that's kind of one of the biggest dominoes to fall, because that space, are we gonna take all of those courts, move them, so we said, hey, just make the part of that, our new 5.7, you have this softball field out there, moving that is going to really change everything. If we keep it there, right, then we're looking at, okay, now CTV, so that is one of our biggest dominoes. It has to get done this year, because kids can't play on it, it's not safe. It's no longer a competitive surface, so we can't host matches there anymore.
It's not like official.
Yeah, and so, so that has to be moved. And so when the building committee, when we look, well, we can't just put it somewhere without being mindful of our 50-year plan.
And our access.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, so that's on there, but that's part of our building committee, we're looking at that and not just, like I said, we could just say, oh, put it by the middle school.
But then, what's the access line?
What's the long-term plan?
Who can like, you know, it's a great community thing for, you know, our kids can use it, our community can use it. It's by the middle school, it's locked down. No one can use it, you know, why do you do that?
Well, and that's where it came, that, you know, that our new property out there, you move the softball field, you have the brand new tennis courts out there, that way you can have concessions, bathrooms and everything out there, and then if you have access, you're not in the middle of the schools.
Tell me where you're thinking about.
Over at our new property out there. And
Putting
then-
the tennis courts in?
Yeah, putting the tennis courts out there, so you have
And
your
a softball field?
Yeah.
It's a sporting complex.
It'd be a sporting complex, so you'd have to reconfigure everything, because you know where the current soccer field, these are just ideas for the committee. I know we're getting off the tangent, I apologize.
I know, it's good for us to know.
Is putting the softball field out there where the varsity soccer field was. Then you take the tennis courts at the back of it, and then you have all of your parking in 2 areas, plus in the middle of that, you do have your concessions, bathrooms, all of the facilities to support that. So that is one of the options.
And there's access from the road there.
Yep. There's
Versus-
two ways to access that.
Versus it's like, you gotta go into the school.
Yep. And parking is mindful rather than
You keep the
find a
softball
place.
field as a JV softball field.
Well, then you take that and look at your phase 3, which is your early learning community resource center, and that's where you put right there, and that way it is more of a contingent plan with your elementary. So you don't disconnect your elementary schools, as Mrs. Ramos was talking, how important it is to have, you know, K-12 communication, like actual plans. So anyway, you'd be able to be there and work together. And anyway, as you can see, it's a bigger issue than,
Yeah, it's moving parts.
yeah. But I do
Well-
think without that communication, how do you guys know?
And also pickleball is becoming a big sport, and I'm assuming that it is a varsity sport in some schools.
There's pickleball courts over here at the Mart.
But I'm also thinking, is that what we're going to do? Use pickleball, of course, if pickleball became a varsity sport here? Because you can't use the tennis courts.
You can't, yeah.
Why not? They do in Ontario.
You have to just pick different lines. You
Right.
can.
Right.
Right.
It is a little confusing.
You
Yeah.
have to have it internet.
And that's an issue, that's something we talked about, that we could, like, you could add a pickleball court, which would be awesome, and that way the community can kind of use it, but So now are we making it for community space, or are we making it for kids and learning programs? Right, so that's a question for you, is saying that, but if it's a varsity sport and that's where we're going, absolutely wanna plan for the future. So, anyway.
Well, and again, planning for the future,
Yeah.
10, 15 years down the line.
So on fiscal and innovation, one of the things that I've thought about a lot that I think we're missing is projected costs over long term. As we talked about moving fields somewhere else, adding a concession stand, adding a CTE building, adding an elementary education building. We get a lot of I shouldn't say we get a lot of information. We get information on what these projects are going to cost to build, to implement right now. We're not getting any information on, and this is what it is going to cost us 5 years, 10 years. The turf is the exception to that. When the turf came in, we looked at it, we went, this is $1 million to $1.5 million project up front. What is it going to cost us 10 years down the road? And so now we've got a contingency fund set up to take care of that turf replacement in 10 years, right? The what?
That still took us working on getting out of it, getting that out.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
But I think we need to be seeing these on these other buildings. Right now, we all know we're in a good situation as far as cash flow goes. We don't know how long that is going to continue. And so I don't want to be in a situation where we build these extra buildings, we build out this infrastructure that is non-sustainable under our general fund revenues, right? And so I think we need to have something in place that shows us, okay, here's each stage, here's what each stage is going to cost immediately, and here's what this stage is going to cost in 5 years, and this is what the stage is going to cost in 10 years. And I know these projections aren't going to be perfect, but I think in order for us to make...
It's the maintenance.
Right, well, that's what I'm talking about, the maintenance, the electricity costs, the renovations. I mean, some of these things, science rooms, how long did we go without renovating those?
50 years.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic cabinetry, that's solid wood cabinetry, and asbestos tiles that would wear forever, right? Stuff's not made like that anymore. These cabinets are gonna be replaced in 15 years instead of 50 years. And so we need to have some ideas of the immediate maintenance. Do we have to have an extra maintenance person on staff? But we need to know renovation maintenance, we need to know heating and cooling costs, all of those sorts of things. But this is what our long-term CapEx is going to be on this particular project. My biggest fear is we overbuild and we end up with this fantastic place that everybody's going to want to be, and 2 years from now the legislature makes a big change and all of a sudden we go, okay, we can't afford these
Keep
things.
it up.
Right. Bear Ground, great purchase. 2 years from now, if we don't do anything, it's not really, but it's easy sell. We put facilities on there, it's not easy sell anymore. Right.
Any other thoughts on those?
I would just echo Dustin, we've talked about this a little bit, but also I am still an advocate for adding in healthy food. I think that should be a priority. I think the more healthy food options we can get, there's a lot of kids that don't get very good health options at home, and it should be our priority to be the very best we can. And I know that we talked about that from building up the cafeteria, but just creating budgets and expectations that we're going to have food that's high in nutritional content and that is as close to being prepared at time of eating as possible.
Yeah.
That should be something that should be in our fiscal budget and our goals.
Yeah, so I'm fully on board with Nick on that one. We're making a right step in the expansion and renovations of the cafeteria. That's just step one.
I think part of the budget has to be funded for that. We have to expand our budget to meet
Well, I was
that.
gonna say, we have to expand our budget so we can hire more people so they can cook those homemade things that maybe they're difficult.
But honestly, look at the food we just ate right now. The wraps, pretty good, right? There's fruits, vegetables, and I mean,
Add a milk to it, and it's a great meal for a kid or high school.
yeah, it really is.
The reality is, they have fruits and vegetables now, they do a really good job with that.
Right.
That's not the issue, it's the main dish preparation. That is oftentimes something that's coming out of a freezer or a fridge that's been
Have
prepared.
you guys gone and eaten at school?
Mhm.
Because Jasmine and I did when it was, I don't know what it was called.
And it's not like it tastes bad.
Oh, it
It's
did.
just my taste is fine. I'm not picky.
Yeah. Mine wasn't something I'm like, yeah, I want to go out to a restaurant and get that, or I want that at home even necessarily.
Well, this was a
But-
hamburger patty that, I don't know if I'd feed it to my dog.
No, mine wasn't bad, and there were fruits and veggies, just, you could take as much as you wanted. And since then, I've told my kids, stop whining, I thought it was okay, it's sufficient for what you need.
But the main dish could absolutely
Sure.
improve.
Yeah. I didn't really have it, well, I guess they're really good. I agree with what kind of very well is coming on, talking about that. And also what Beth was speaking about with the long-term maintenance costs and the long-term cost projections and stuff that we'd be concerned about. I like the idea we talked about that.
But if you were talking about moving the tennis courts, that can't be done by spring, can it? Or can it? Oh, I don't know, I just don't
We
know
can, so.
I don't know.
Yeah, so.
how long that would take,
Yeah,
the
and
process.
it can, and you're looking at, part of it is, like, varsity court's fine, right, that one court, right? And then can we do enough on 2 courts? Yeah, there's some things that, just in general, that we can compete on, like I said.
You don't have to tear that down to build the other one immediately.
No, no,
You can tear that down later.
yeah. So, but yeah, there's just a lot of things that we need to know post cost up front and that, but I think timelines and accountability is important, and by sharing a plan about kind of our fiscal and innovation for the district is important. So I'm taking all of those things around it. I haven't found a way to put healthy food in that yet. I'll keep crafting, sorry.
Well, and when they built the tennis courts here, whenever they built them, they didn't know that the water underneath that was gonna make it, so we need to make sure maybe have a geological study or something, so that we don't build them on another spot
On
like
the
that.
Arcadia.
Yeah, I'm sure. And Dion, and that's something we've already kind of discussed with Dion, is when he looked at some other possible locations for it, you know, because they mapped all that out when they built the middle school. And so they said, yes, we redirected this way, we did this, and so we do have most of those things now.
We just don't want the same problem.
Oh, absolutely.
My preference on outdoor facilities like the tennis courts are they be open to the public.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
And accessible. I mean, that's
Correct.
right. They could be open, but if you can't get in there, then
Yeah,
right,
right.
really.
I think it should, especially something like that. Like, I know my kids accessed it a bunch, right? And they wouldn't have come and just like, done, you know, I mean, it gave them something to come to, so.
One other thing that I'd like to mention, I think we really need to offer some courses in anger management to our students and to our staff.
To our board.
That's what we're.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, I said that.
You only said that out loud because it's on camera, there's proof.
Well, I just know that was specifically not what.
Yeah,
you
that's
meant.
So, but, no, I was thinking about that, is that people don't know how to handle anger.
That's a thing in the past, I swear. People in anger,
Then they do stupid things.
this is just worse.
Well, that's it, and that's part of our character, right? Being mindful of how to resolve conflicts, what to do, and, yeah. And you even have that, you're like, well, it's okay to be angry. However, it doesn't
Don't pick up a
excuse
gun.
your behavior and mean you can do whatever you want. Like, how do you get help with that? Anyway, so that is a topic in our character, that those things, like Connie just said, right? That's a thing of the past. Meaning that there are a lot of explicit things that students used to come to school with that they don't, that we help with. And that, I think that is one of them. So conflict resolution, and so,
Yeah, I need that.
yeah.
I mean, it's, you know, it's translated into the outer world when where I deal with it.
One other thing, I'd like to see our CTE courses expand, or, you know, we need to be able to work or cooperate with other school districts. Susie and I went to the CTE graduation, and a lot of those schools graduate a lot of welders, a lot of well, we graduate a lot of nurses, but a lot of welders, mechanics, and we don't have that here. So maybe we need to be able to cooperate and build that. I'd like to see our kids, those who decide that they're not going on to college or to, you know, TVCC or whatever, that they can get a job.
A good job.
Well, and Donna, you said that one of the ways that you got into the law enforcement was because they had that program here. You were exposed to it, I should say.
Yeah, the program was actually through TVCC, but it was a cooperative experience that they had. But yeah, even something similar like that, like the senior project part is where I see a lot of them come over, they want their, all those, some of those kids, yeah, obviously you're gonna get a number of them who are interested in the law enforcement profession, they'll come on to their senior project on it. And so it's where you start getting a lot of the questions from them. We didn't have that when I was in school, but when I went to college, we had a cooperative experience where they put me in place. So.
Different exposure to law enforcement in high school.
Well, we can talk about that.
Statute of limitation.
We almost said.
Well, he's a lawyer now.
Well, do we have the program, like if somebody from a different school district wants to learn welding, they could come to our school 8th grade or something? Or if somebody wants to learn,
Boy, we're so spread out, how.
well, I mean, just Ontario.
Right.
I mean, people from Adrian come here.
Yeah, I mean, if Ontario has something that we don't, could our kids go over there or vice versa?
We don't have that program currently, and so,
Yeah, just an idea.
I think this happened in the past.
yeah, it has happened in the past. I will say, by the way, just that they're looking to do another cooperative with us. I'm gonna ask you guys on Monday. Adrian would like to do another cooperative in sports. And so I think a soccer player, obviously baseball, we still do softball, but just have more of an open thing for a couple of years, and so.
But only in sports that they don't already.
That they don't offer,
They don't have
yeah.
enough
So
sports,
it's
yeah.
not a, oh, I wanna go here, I wanna go here. It is, they don't offer that, and so, yeah,
They don't have enough routine.
yeah, then, yeah.
Just another item to put on you folks' plates.
Well, I really appreciate the conversation tonight. I think we have some work to do, but I hope to capture what you guys have studied. I love the forethought saying, right, it's not just that, like, we've looked at this, and so I appreciate the thoroughness of how you guys looked at this. We're gonna try to capture it and have it ready for you. I would love to say by the end of this week, but it's kind of, I mean, this is our last week until staff's back and school's going, but I want to get something to you as soon as I can. And I want your feedback.
And we need to be here Monday morning at 8 o'clock for the.
Yes, yeah.
That's what I said, I don't remember.
Monday.
Monday date's the kickoff.
We're doing a State of Sports Marathon thing.
And
I
they
thought it'd be
introduce
great.
all the board members and.
I will have to check my work calendar.
Nobody
to be
wants
sure,
to see
but I
that.
might have.
You might have it, oh yeah, you might have it.
Been
That's
that.
awesome.
I'm pretty confident by state of mind.
Wednesday?
Yeah.
Yeah, Wednesday is your retirement.
Tomorrow's my last full day.
That's amazing.
Wednesday I'll be in.
I'm sure.
But at the Nazarene Church, they're doing a send-off thing, is that, Juan said something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that.
And we're supposed to go or something,
I'm not gonna put it on, so
Yeah.
I'm.
He's just showing up.
He's
My
just.
favorite things from movies, like, are you busy? He takes the plastic off his guess I can make it. Let me check my work calendar. Anyway, okay. Anything else we want to cover on this?
Anything else? Is there a time when we need to review all of this? Couple of weeks? Next
Once
time?
I
I know
a lot of it has my ability, or Gina and my ability to get it to you guys refined and get feedback to you. And so I think if we can get it to you, then we can say, hey, in a couple days, see if we can get it to you. Like, give us a little bit of time to get it to you. Like,
Well, that's what I was asking.
yeah.
So, is there anything else that we need to discuss this evening or bring up?
Not for me.
Okay, if there's anything you guys think of, Ryan is our person
Yep.
to
Time to go.
contact.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.